Because I think a lot of Indonesians like you as well, despite your claim. Assalamualaikum, Tun.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview you and ask you several questions regarding Malaysia, regarding the world. And I think you are a great example, not only for the seniors of the world, but also for the younger generation like me, because like you show this resilience and you show this active role in the politics of Malaysia. So first of all, do you have any secrets to be that active until this age?
When you are interested in something and you work towards that, I think you can be very well occupied and active, and this contributes to your success.
And when you see the current affairs of our politics, especially in the region like Malaysia, Indonesia, what do you think is the main concern then?
Well, we have the assets, we have the capacity. The only thing that we need is good governance. If we have a good government that focuses on the right things to do, and to train the people to acquire new skills, new knowledge, then I think our countries can do well, as well as the developed countries.
Yeah, I think it's relevant to every state of the countries in the world, and then of course we should be strong against the fight on the fight against corruption, right?
Yes, corruption is one of the worst things that can destroy a country. If a country is corrupt, it cannot make any progress. You see, because the cost of doing things will be very high, and the things that you want to do may not be carried out properly. So every government must fight against corruption, but the government itself must not be corrupt.
So they need to show the example, right? So it's not just lip service, we say. Okay, so recently, I'm going to ask this again. I think you were previously asked about this, about the claim you made on the news, But I'm not going to ask your clarification. I'm asking how, when you stated that about the Riau and Singapore claim, people were, I should say, crazy about it in Indonesia. They were criticizing you. Sometimes I also don't understand why political misinformation or facts are being twisted that easily today. So, how would you comment on the dangers of twisting these, political facts and ideas?
Well, Malaysia is now a small country.
Yeah.
We have lost a lot of territory to our neighbors. To Thailand, we lost four states were lost to Thailand. And I mentioned that also. But the Thais did not react to that because they know what I was trying to do is to make a comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are so very worked up because of this Pulau Batu Putih, which is just a small rock. But when parts of your country are taken away, you don't even say anything. You see, because Johor claims that Riau was a part of Johor in the past, but Riau was occupied by the Dutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was understood that areas occupied by the Dutch will be a part of Indonesia. We did not dispute that at all. We did not claim that at all. But the fact remains that Riau was claimed before as a part of Johor. So if Johor is so concerned about this little rock, they should be more concerned about the Riau but they did nothing about Rio. That's one thing. The other thing is that the government of Johor is still giving land to other people, selling land to other people. One area for 1,300 acres of land was sold to foreigners. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't sell your land to other people. But that they are all right. But this little rock, they're making a big noise. I'm not asking Malaysia to claim Rio or even Singapore, but I'm saying that you are not reacting properly when you lose a big piece of your territory. You don't make any noise, but when you lose this little rock, oh, this is very important. What is important about it? What they didn't mention was that the World Court did not practically awarded 2 of the other rocks to Malaysia. Then I think the 2 other rocks is compensation law. And on the top of it, Sipadan and Ligatan, 2 of the best, most beautiful islands in the world, is given to Malaysia, and Indonesia is not complaining.
So I think the problem was at that time people just read the headline of the news. They didn't read or didn't actually listen to your full speech.
But I didn't say anything because I thought that eventually people will understand.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you about more on the geopolitics scale. You see, one of the things that captured my attention is neocolonialism. I think you stated that frequently. So, what do you think about this, especially concerning what happens today in the Middle East, and then what happens with how the Chinese government made, enormous deals with governments around the world?
You see, this term was coined by President Sukarno.
Yeah.
And at that time, people did not understand what is neocolonialism. But we appreciate his reference to neocolonialism, because after they gave up on their colonies, they still have a stranglehold on the colonies through economic management. And they can actually impoverish you through economy. For example, during the financial crisis in Malaysia, they devalued our currency. That is a strong move economically to control us. So that is a form of colonialism. So we realize that there is such a thing as economic colonialism, and this is being practiced by the West after they lost their empire.
Yeah, I think it's just in a different form than, back in the old days. It's in the form of, slavery. It's in the form of with their military power. Nowadays, it's on the economy. But do you think that many countries are not aware of this, or are governments pretending to be not aware of this?
People are frightened of the rich and powerful countries because they can do a lot of harm to you. They can apply sanction, they can boycott you, they can do a lot of things. So everybody wants to be nice to powerful countries. Although they do a lot of wrong things, we don't point out to them that you are doing something wrong, because then they will react and apply certain action against you, and you will suffer. So although everybody, I think, agrees with what I say, but nobody dares to voice it, to say anything about that.
Yeah, I think that happens to us in Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the ASEAN, basically. So, what do you think? What is your hope for Malaysia's future as former leader?
Well, today Malaysia has a problem with a government that is not capable and also that is corrupt. So that is a problem of Malaysia. The solution, of course, can come with the election, when we can elect a new government. We hope we can do that. But of course, this government has a lot of money, stolen money, and they bribe people. So it's very difficult to displace them.
Well, I asked you a lot of questions, so I think thank you for your great answers. Unless you have another question for me?
Yeah, I noticed that nowadays a lot of Indonesian people have, you know, you never want to acquire the language of the Dutch people. You always go for English, and now we find that Indonesians speak better English than many Malaysians now.
Really?
Yeah, those who go to Australia to study, go abroad to study, and even in your country you have schools now which teach in English.
International schools.
Yeah, international schools. So English is a very important language. All over the world, whether they are Europeans or Americans or whatever, they use English as a common language.
I agree.
It is the lingua franca, especially of politics and diplomacy. So Malaysia has lost a lot of the mastery of English. We're trying to bring it back, but we are finding a lot of foreign diplomats from Indonesia quite fluent in English, and that is a good thing for Indonesia.
Yeah, I think basically when the Dutch left, like as you previously said, they just leave us like that. There weren't any influence in terms of the human resources. It's more on the how they leave the historical buildings, how they leave the laws. It's more on the more of the object type, not the people type of influence. So I guess that's how Indonesians nowadays, only the seniors one can speak Dutch well, and then the younger generations just focus on English because it's everywhere now. People uses phones, it's on YouTube, Instagram, it's all English, right? But then I think it's because maybe the Indonesians felt that, I don't know, but in the smaller scale, from let's say from my own neighborhood to city to province and to the country itself, I think there's this feeling of Indonesians, because if you can speak English, there's this pride that they have, that someone, if their child can speak English well, the parents will ask him or her to give a speech in English when, let's say, they have an achievement. So it's like this pride. But I think for Malaysians, maybe they don't see this as that utmost importance, maybe because they were themselves already colonized by the British back then, and then they believe that they may be already able, but they're actually, like you said, not that proper in English as Indonesians. Because Indonesians, I think, they actually study for this pride, to have this pride.
Yeah, but here, of course, they want to promote Bahasa Malaysia.
Yeah.
And if you focus on English, then you're not very patriotic. And they want you to use Bahasa Malaysia. And yet, in Indonesia, everybody speaks Bahasa Indonesia. Yeah. Even the people who, well, people of Chinese origin or Indian origin, they speak very fluent Bahasa Indonesia.
Yeah.
But here, the Chinese and Indian mostly do not use Bahasa Malaysia, not at home anyway, and they retain their own language. So this divides us. Yeah. It causes us to be divided.
Because people might misunderstood that as racism. Yeah, it's an honor actually to meet you. This is a once in a lifetime experience, because I think a lot of Indonesians like you as well, despite your claim. I'm pretty sure there are millions that still like you in Indonesia. So thank you, Tun.
You're welcome.
Okay.